We've had this conversation before, but we're going to have this conversation many times. And the topic of today is the difference between impossible and difficult. The difference between impossible and difficult. We make that mistake all the time, all of us. So you've heard me talk about this before if you've been here before, but it still bears repeating, and I'm going to give you a special glimpse of this. This is Dustin Carter, and he was born without any arms or legs, had a love of wrestling, and so I'm going to show you a clip about, it's about 3 or 4 minute clip of him wrestling, his preparation and everything. So we'll look at this and then I'll talk to you guys again. It has no sound to it. All right, Dustin went 40-11 his senior year in college, in high school, and then went on to wrestle college, okay? Small D3 school. Now, the question that we have to ask ourselves is this, right? Is it more difficult for Dustin Carter to wrestle than it would be for you and I? Absolutely, without question. Is it impossible? Well, obviously not, right? When you saw they got there in the beginning when they started to wrestle, and you see him and the other guy, if I just give you a picture of that, who would you probably go, oh man, I kind of feel sorry for that guy. You're feeling sorry for the wrong guy, right? Because you got about 17 seconds later, the other guy got pinned, right? So we make the mistake all the time of misinterpreting the difference between difficult and impossible all the time. So here's your next question. Here's your next thing that I want you to ask yourself, okay? When faced with your current obstacle that's in front of you, right? When faced with the current obstacle that's in front of you, and by the way, there always will be obstacles that are in front of you. Always. Right? The question is, am I looking at this through the lens of what I don't have and what I can't do, or am I looking at it through the lens of addressing this issue with what I have and what I can do? I'll say that again. when I'm looking at this obstacle, do I look at it through the lens of what I don't have and what I can't do, or do I look at it through the lens of what I have available to me and what I can do? Okay? Now, we all know that human nature being as it is, what do we tend to do? We tend to go, I wish I had this. Do you think Dustin Carter would wish he had legs? Does he wish he have arms? Yeah, right? It's never going to happen. He's never going to have those things. So he has got to make adjustments, adaptations for what he has rather than what he doesn't. Now, also commonly, being human nature, what do we also say? Well, do you ever catch yourself saying, well, that's not fair? I do, right? Well, that's not fair. My path, in essence what we're saying is, my path is more difficult than someone else's path. And that's absolutely probably true, right? And the answer is, so what? Right? Really, what does that have to do with anything? Right? Well, so all of you came here today, right, from different distances, right? Even if one of your bed is further away from here than the other, you came here from different distances, but you still got here. And it's very appropriate here, right? Have to take a plane and cross the ocean. So here's where you make the mistake. You get discouraged, disappointed, delusion, whatever, by a focus on what you don't have or what you can't do currently. And that's what gets you in trouble. So here's my final comment to you today, right? First of all, you have to understand, it's perfectly normal to have that happen to you. Perfectly normal. So don't beat yourself up and go, man, I'm a sorry sack if I think. No, of course, it's human. Now, so I would say to you, it's okay to have that thought for a small time, 30 seconds, a minute. And then you've got to say this. I want you to think of Dustin Carter in this example and say, what's my excuse? I don't have an excuse. Really, at the end of the day, I really don't have an excuse. I'm making something up that gets in my way. But if he can achieve that, right? If he can wrestle with no arms and no legs, can I gain 5 miles an hour? Seriously, and I'm not trying to be funny, right? So you hit 97 the other day, right? Okay, so even with that, and Noah, what did you hit? What have you topped out now? Awesome, man. You would have never, if I would have told you that, and as skeptical as a guy as you are, and I don't mean that as a disparaging remark, if I would have said to you, you'd hit 90, and how long you been here now? You would have went, yeah, right. And yet you did it, right? So my comment to you is this. 97, 90, right? I said to you, is it easier for you to gain another 5 miles an hour in the next year? That makes you 102, right? 95. Or, and you're like, oh my gosh, you're close, don't say it, that's impossible, don't you say it. Then you just made it happen. Or to wrestle with no arms and no legs. Which one would you choose? I know which one I'd choose. Right? So now, that's the mindset you have to have. That's how you got to turn that in your head. Right? So we get, I didn't say it was going to be, actually the opposite. The easiest miles per hour that you gained, you already just gained. right? You got the low-hanging fruit. Congratulations. Now, a lot of people don't even get that. How long you been throwing? How long you been throwing? And you never got that, and yet so you got the low-hanging fruit. You got up to 90. Congratulations. I'm very proud of you. We didn't get a picture of him, by the way, did we? All right. I'm sorry. I'm out of the loop. I'm slow. People run this place much better than I do. So I know we got a picture of you because it was sent to me when I was wherever. So you don't now get stuck in this impossible business, right? Because that's when you start, because when you really think it's impossible, it is. Your body is just not going to allow you to do that. Right? How many people in Dustin Carter's life believed he could wrestle in college when he was born? You know, I don't think Dustin Carter's dad picked him up, held him up. This kid's going to wrestle in college. No. And if he did, everybody would have thought he'd been nuts. And yet, he got this right. So I'll close this down again today. We constantly do this. We constantly, as human beings, do this. We misinterpret the difference between impossible and very difficult or challenging. They're two completely different things, right? Two completely different things. And we could have a whole week of just, I could give you events that would say it's impossible. Like in the 1950s, we were thinking about going to the moon, thought of as possible. And yet Sputnik and the Soviets happened, and all of a sudden we figured it out in 1969, landed on the moon. Okay, what about 1900? Impossible to fly, right? And yet, how many of you have flown in an airplane, right? 1900 never happened before. So I could go over and over and over. History is full of that. The difference is it's all mindset. Don't let that happen to you. And don't get discouraged by it's difficult, right? Don't get discouraged by that, because anything that's really worthwhile, it takes time to be able to build that. All right, guys? Have a great day.